Good morning, children. Today we are going to start with the third chapter of your history, that is the nationalism in India. Children, firstly we should know what does the term nationalism mean. If we talk in a simple term, then it is a feeling of love and affection for our own nation. Or in other way you can say that it involves a strong identification of a group of individuals with a political entity defined in national terms, that is a nation. Children, you all have studied your first chapter of your history, that is the rise of nationalism in Europe. And you all studied that the modern nationalism in Europe was associated with the formation of a nation states. But here we are going to focus on the case of India. And we find that in India, the growth of nationalism is closely connected to the anti-colonial movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Children, as we are going to study in this chapter from the period of 1920, the entire story from the period of 1920 onwards, and we will study about the non-cooperation, the civil disobedience movement, or the various way how the Mahatma Gandhi has launched the freedom struggle movement in our country, and how the people had developed the feeling of love and affection for their own nation, that is the growth of nationalism. Firstly, I just tell you that this chapter is being divided into 4 sections there. The very first section which we have, this is the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation. The second is differing strengths within the movement. Third is towards civil disobedience. And the fourth is the sense of collective belonging. So we are going to start the chapter now, and the very first heading is here, that is the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation. So firstly children, that is the First World War. As all of you know very well that the First World War was fought among the European countries from the period of 1914 to 1918, and it was fought between the two powerful blocs, that is the Axis and Allied. Now, but what we find that this First World War, it has helped a lot in the growth of national movement in India by creating a new economic and political situation. How? So, firstly, as you know very well that India was a colony of British, and British people were already involved in the First World War from the side of your Allied forces. At this time, now the British people, they had introduced various taxes on the people just to fulfill their war needs, and the war led to a huge increase in the defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised, and a new tax was introduced on Indians, that was the income tax. We also see that that throughout the war years, the prices of all the commodities were almost doubled, and leading to the extreme hardships to the common people. At the same time, we also find that the villagers were called upon to supply soldiers. There was a few forced recruitment of the Indian people in the rural areas, which for the British army there, and it has caused widespread anger among the Indian masses. There was, along with this also, there was the acute shortage of food due to the failure of crops, and it was accompanied by influenza epidemic, which has already killed to 12 to 13 million population of the country. People were hoping that their hardships would end after the war, and they were just looking for a new time, for the new better future. But at this time here, at this tough time, now there was the arrival of Mahatma Gandhi to the national scene. So the next heading which we are going to study, this is the idea of Satyagraha. Children, as I told you that Mahatma Gandhi, he returned to India in the month of January 1915, and he returned to India from South Africa. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, he had already launched the concept of Satyagraha in the South Africa against the white colonial government over there. Now, before starting the efforts which were made by Mahatma Gandhi in our country for the freedom struggle movement here, firstly we should understand what does the term Satyagraha mean. Satyagraha, children, as you know, it is a Hindi word. Satya plus Agraha. If you do Sandhi Vichhed, it is a Satya plus Agraha. Satya means truth and Agraha means appeal. It means Satyagraha means appeal for the truth. Mahatma Gandhi introduced this concept of Satyagraha during his stay in South Africa. This I told you. And it is totally based on the ideals of truth and non-violence. As he said, truth and non-violence are the two strong weapons of a Satyagrahi person. Now, we should understand in detail what way Satyagraha was defined by Mahatma Gandhi. So, Satyagraha is basically a non-violent method of mass agitation against the oppressor. And it emphasizes the power of the truth and the need to search for the truth. Mahatma Gandhi said that, or he suggested that, if the cause was true, if the struggle was against the injustice, then the physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. He also said that a Satyagrahi could win the battle through the non-violence by appealing to the conscience of the oppressor. Now, people, including the oppressors, had to be persuaded to see the truth instead of being forced to accept the truth through the use of violence. By this struggle, truth was bound to ultimately win. According to him, truth was bound to ultimately win. And Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence can unite all the Indians. As Mahatma Gandhi already suggested that the Indians should adopt this non-violence as their dharma, means as their religion. And why? Because he said that the millions of population of India, at that time India was a very poor country when the British were ruling on us here. So he said here that the millions of population of India, it is not possible for them to carry the arms. So how to fight against the British? So he suggested that we should adopt the non-violence as our religion and then we should fight against the British Raj. When Mahatma Gandhi returned back to India, he had successfully organized Satyagraha movement in our country at the 3 different places and where he got a lot of success and popularity. And which were the 3 places here where he applied or where he had launched the Satyagraha here? So very first one is here, that is the Champaran in Bihar in the year of 1916. Now in 1916, he travelled to Champaran in Bihar simply to inspire the indigo farmers to struggle against the oppressive plantation system of the British. And the people of the Champaran, when they were supported by Mahatma Gandhi, so ultimately their demands were accepted. Second movement which he had started, this was in the year of 1917 and it was a peasant movement also, and this peasant movement was started in 1970 in the Khera district of Gujarat. What was the problem over there? That in the Khera farmers, basically they protested in 1917 against the Britishers because they were badly affected by the crop failure and the plague epidemic over there. Peasants of that place, they were simply not in a position to pay the revenue and they were demanding that their revenue collection should be relaxed. So now they got the support of Mahatma Gandhi there. They launched the movement over there. The peasant movement and the Khera district of Gujarat was started under the guidance of Mahatma Gandhi and they also got the success in that. Finally, the third place where the Mahatma Gandhi started the Satyagraha concept there, this was in the year of 1918 in Ahmedabad. Now in 1918, Mahatma Gandhi went to Ahmedabad simply to organize the Satyagraha movement among the cotton mill workers. The mill workers, they were protesting for the better wages in Ahmedabad against the mill owner. And the British had to increase the wages along with the reforms in the working condition when the Satyagraha movement was started in the Ahmedabad against the industrialists there and the mill workers. They finally won. Thank you, children.